Welcome to the first episode of We Shoot Sports, a podcast all about sports photography. I'm very excited to be here to finally get this going, and I'm thrilled that today we have none other than Kelley L joining us. What's up?
Hello, how are you?
Good. You look so pretty.
I'm to dress up for it. You look nice too. I like your little
a good reason to get dressed up, right?
Yeah. From the waist up, at least.
Yeah. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good.
How's your little baby?
Oh my gosh, so good. I had my husband take her for some
Same.
daddy-daughter time. So
Is this your time slot every day?
No, well, so my dad is actually her babysitter.
Oh, nice.
When we're at work, but we're working from home right now, and so usually my dad has her during the day, and now that she's home, it's nice because I can feed her just whenever she wants it and that kind of thing. I don't have to worry so much about
pumping.
Pumping. Oh, goodness gracious.
You got to get the LV. Get the LV.
I actually got one, believe it or not, right before all of this happened. It came in the mail like 2 days before. I gifted myself for my birthday.
Good for you.
This happened, so I haven't really needed it that much. So
right.
So I use it like in the morning, and then that's it. So
yeah, about the same here.
Yeah, but I like when I was at work during the day, and then if there was a game that night too. Like, oh my goodness, I was pumping all over, and mine was like the kind that plugged into the wall before, so I was like just trying to find random places to do it during games and
putting it on your little like tube top and zipping it up and like
exactly.
It's awful.
So weird. I know, it's crazy. Gosh, I was just looking through some of the questions I had for you, and I was like, oh, there's so much stuff I want to ask her.
Nice.
Yeah.
Is this going on your YouTube? Is everything live? Do you crop it
YouTube
later? Or?
And it'll go on YouTube, and then it'll also go on podcasts, like a platform. So probably Apple Podcasts will definitely be one of the ones. I haven't put up any of them yet. But yeah, I've done a few interviews now, and so I'm kind of getting into the rhythm of it. It's something I've wanted to do for a long time because I don't feel like there's anything that specifically focuses just on sports.
Right.
And any favorite photo from your website?
Oh, I don't know. I was watching your videos last night about how you need to update your website, and I was like, I need to update my website too.
Yes, same here. Actually, you know what? I will just pop on over to, is it Kelley L?
KelleyLCox.com, yeah.
Yeah. No, I was just going to pop over to Instagram real quick.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you could do my kiteboarding one. That was just the other day.
Yeah, that was amazing.
That was cool. It was really cool fog because it was like just stopped right there, and then you saw like the tip of the bridge. It was really fun.
Yeah, so what I can do with this too is just kind of pop this on.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, it's a nice
little scrolling banner. Wow.
Yeah, it's a nice little platform.
Cool.
I think it's mostly for like when you're going live, but I've been using it to record, and it's just nice because you can kind of get a little bit of everything. So
yeah.
So you ready? You good?
Yeah, let's go.
All right. So just to start out, maybe just a little bit about like your background and how you got into photography.
I got into photography when I was a student at UC Berkeley, and I was waving the flag in rally committee. Oops, there goes my earbud. I just got these. I'm trying to be fancy. I was waving the flag, and then I would have my camera on the side and take pictures when I didn't have to wave the flag. And then I was like, this is really fun. And I emailed the contract holder with Cal Athletics and asked if they wanted an intern. And they said, sure, why not? And then kind of fell in love with it, made a bunch of contacts, met some really great people in the Bay Area who all really helped me kind of navigate the next step to go to USA Today, to start KLC Photos, and then become the Olympus visionary. And so kind of the ball gets rolling, and then things get really exciting. And it certainly helps that we had that incredible stretch of really great Bay Area teams that were going to the World Series, the NBA Finals, and then hosted a Super Bowl. I haven't photographed 49ers in the Super Bowl, but I photographed the Super Bowl when it was at Levi Stadium.
Oh, nice.
So been very fortunate by timing and location.
Mm-hmm. We actually crossed paths one time, but I was so busy. I don't think that I had the opportunity to stop and talk to you. I was shooting for Utah in the Pac-12 championship.
Oh, no way.
And so I was so busy during that, and I had flown from North Carolina out because I actually went to the University of Utah. And
nice.
So yeah, I got on a flight that morning because it was like 3 hours ahead here. Got there, shot, and went home that night.
Wow. Oh, so you went from North Carolina to cover it. Wow.
Yeah. So
cool.
But yeah, so I was just there editing my photos in and out is so fast. So, but yeah, that was
jet setter.
Oh no, that was an awesome stadium though. One of my favorite stadiums I've ever shot in. So
that's
pretty jealous that you get to do that all the time. It's awesome.
Yeah, we're pretty spoiled. Though we're losing the Raiders, so we have that. That's our sad story. And right now we've lost all sports.
Yeah, I know. I'm ready for sports to be back. So was that your first time, like your first interaction with photography, or your first interaction with sports photography?
That was my first interaction with sports photography.
Okay, got you.
I had entered photo contest in my hometown for the Vacaville Fiesta Days. But that was with like a point and shoot camera. I didn't know what aperture was. Didn't know ISO. I didn't know anything until sports. Sports is what made me interested in photography and made me kind of learn what a camera could do as opposed to like green square auto mode.
Yeah. Let's see. So are you from, is Vacaville is that in
Yeah,
California?
It's like 45 minutes from Berkeley.
Gotcha. So. I'm so not, there's so many places in California that I don't know all of the little ones, but my husband is actually from Northern California. So sometimes we'll go back, but I don't know all of them. But
if you ever went from the Bay Area to the mountains, my hometown is like right in between. It's where you stop to get in and out or where you stop to shop at the factory outlets.
Oh, gotcha.
Those are kind of what we're known for. It's a great town. Love it.
He's from Lodi. So
okay, nice.
I don't know if
my aunt lives in Lodi.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I'm from a small town in North Carolina, and it feels like Lodi is kind of a small town in California, but when I think of California, I just think of, the Bay Area and LA.
Right.
So all of the big places. So it was kind of not what I was expecting the first couple times we went to
yeah. You're like, where's the Hollywood sign?
Like, can I still get in and out here, or
if not, I'm going home.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know Susie Wolf?
I do, yeah.
Okay. I've connected with her. She's done some stuff for KLC Photos. So when I saw that you were out there, I was like, they must know each other.
Yeah, so most of the things I've seen, I think I cover Carolina primarily, and then I'll cover Duke and NC State sometimes too. And then some Panther stuff, but I think most of the time when I see her, it's usually at like really significant high school games.
Okay.
And so because there's a lot of recruiting from North Carolina. They don't usually stay in North Carolina, but yeah, there's a lot of really strong recruits that come from here, and so yeah.
Nice.
That's where I'll interact with her. Yeah, she's great.
Cool. Yeah, she's been fun to chat with.
Yeah, so the first time I actually heard about KLC Photos was a few years ago. There's a guy that was shooting at Carolina. I think maybe, was it Jay Anderson? Is he one of your?
Yeah. They did the when Cal played out there. You probably met a bunch of them.
That is definitely where it was. I remember that now. So talk to us a little bit about that, like how you got started with that. What exactly?
Yeah. I mean, KLC Photos has been a really cool like side project that's become my main project. That's sort of where I want to take my photography in many ways, to expand, to help more photographers and build kind of a community. The photographers that work with KLC Photos are all amazing. They all want to help each other out. I think there's a lot of like toxicity in photography. And I feel like people that want to be a part of KLC Photos were not about that. And so it's been really fun of like the better my career goes, the better your career goes if we can all help each other out. And, we, instead of competitors, we're colleagues in a way. So it started kind of when I was getting a lot of gigs, thankfully, knock on wood, and I couldn't do all of them, or I needed a second shooter, and it felt inappropriate to have someone else's work be under the headline Kelley L. So I was like, I should start this other like website brand that could be me and other photographers. And then working with clients who really liked, interfacing with me. They didn't have to learn a new download system, a new invoice system, a new this, a new that. They knew that they could always work with me as like service provider. But then even if they couldn't have me as a photographer, they could work with this whole network of photographers that I could connect them to.
Yeah. And
it kind of exploded from there. And exploded, I mean, it's been a decade of me doing this. But I kind of went to USA Rugby and was like, you guys need an archive. You have great images and you have no archive. And so that kind of created a partnership there. And then I connected with a bunch of rugby photographers. Same with USA Water Polo. We don't do their like national team stuff, but we cover their Junior Olympics, and then transitioned back to Cal, which was really fun because I left Cal to do all the USA Today stuff, which I'm still doing. But Cal is like a mile from my house. It's my alma mater. I love covering all the sports outside of the traditional like top tier pro sports. It's really fun to go cover lacrosse or field hockey or something that you don't get to cover that much in terms of pro sports. So then to have the Cal contract was like just a dream come true. And that connected me to even more photographers. So I just keep connecting more and more photographers and being really inspired by everyone that's, learning new things, pushing the industry, trying new things, and making sure that we have good photographers and good clients so that I can help photographers. When a client says, we want full copyright and we want to pay you $20, I can kind of back that photographer up and be like, no. They don't have to be the bully to the client. I can be the one that says like, let me explain this to you. And then we build really great relationships where the client keeps coming back to us. The photographer keeps wanting to work through KLC Photos. And it's really been super rewarding and really challenging. And it's kind of at a complete standstill right now since no one's photographing anything. So I'm kind of navigating what it looks like through the pandemic and after the pandemic and how I can support photographers moving forward.
That's awesome. So I guess my next question was going to be, so if there was someone that was interested in this, but right now, I guess because of the pandemic, do you know what that looks like going forward or?
Yeah, we're still onboarding and we're still licensing images. So photographers are still welcome to join and upload their archive, and we can try and help push it out to clients who might be interested, whether that's corporate clients or editorial clients or personal clients wanting, prints or licenses and magazines. We're still doing sales in that way. We're starting to get assignment requests right now as some of the restrictions are lifting, or assignments where people don't have to interact. We work with the Wall and Ceiling Alliance. So we've been photographing some of their buildings is the plan for tomorrow. It's going out. I lost my AirPod again.
No worries. I'm fine all the time.
They're new to me. I'm not fancy enough to deserve these, or my ears are too big or small. I don't know. So yeah, we're still onboarding people. People can still apply with being, full-time parent to an infant and kind of everything that's going on right now. I'm not quick to onboard anybody, so it may take some time, but I would love to have more people that want to participate and join, building some things like a gear page for people to exchange gear, and trying to find, more resources where we can support each other even when we're not photographing. So anyone that wants to join, go to klcphotos.com. There's like a prospective photographers tab, and you can click that and apply.
Awesome. That's great. And that's everywhere, right? Not just in California.
Yeah, one of our biggest contributors is actually Mike Lee, who goes by Taiwan Mike. He covers all the rugby, and he's an incredible photographer. And he's based out of, he was in Taiwan, but now he's kind of moved around. But yeah, so anyone internationally, locally, I can better support photographers that are locally because that's where I have most of my contacts. But we've hired people in New York, in North Carolina, kind of all over the place.
Yeah, that's great. That's so awesome. Yeah, I just love it to see like people in the industry willing to help out because like you said, it's not always the case, and it's kind of just what I'm all about, just finding ways that we can help each other. And I don't know, I understand some of it, with just the way the industry has gone since it moved so digital, that it's kind of safeguarded.
Right.
But, if people like Peter Reed Miller are willing to share everything they know, then
and he's been a wonderful resource. He was one of those people where I assisted him, and I remember like I got an unknown call, and when I Googled the number before answering it, it was him, and I was like, what in the world is Peter Reed Miller doing calling me? Oh my God. Like your whole body starts sweating. And then being his assistant, and now he's like, I would consider him a friend, and I've spoken at his workshop, and he's just so generous with his knowledge that every photographer benefits. He has his YouTube channel going too, where he reviews stuff. And so I think a lot of people are producing content that is really helping photographers and we can all help each other out. And good on you, because I don't know how to produce content like this. Happy to be here.
No, I'm so happy that you're here. I like immediately when I decided to start doing this, I was like, I have to get her on here.
You.
So there's just so much, I don't know, there's so much that I feel like I relate to you, and so there's got to be more people that relate to you as well. So
there's a lot of young women coming up in sports photography.
I know.
Like I'm like the old lady now. And the people like all these 20-year-olds, and I'm like, oh, I'm in a 30-year-olds group, 32.
I'm in the 30. I'm 32 as well. But I was a documentary photographer for a while. I didn't do sports.
Oh, nice.
So I'm new to the sports. Not new, but like new-ish. Not 10 years yet. So.
But I'm sure that makes you really well-rounded if you have documentary as your background. You have that eye, which is really cool.
Well, thank you for saying that. I tend to like, okay, Jenna, you have to focus more on action sometimes, like not just what's going on over there on the bench and why are people,
But that's why people love action, is the storytelling. It's like all the emotion and the, what's behind the sports. Why do we care about sports? It's not for the action. It's everything that surrounds it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. So you were talking a little bit about Peter Reed Miller and how he kind of was a mentor to you. Do you have other people like him, or even if you want to share a little bit about like kind of that relationship with him, how that kind of helped you along your path? Or
everyone, the Bay Area with so many sports, there's a lot of great photographers that live locally. So you have like Ezra Shaw that's here. You have Michael Zagaris. You have, Kyle Terada, who's my like mentor / boss at USA Today. And they all, I felt like took me under their wing when I was getting started. And, that learning from them, getting to pick their brains has been a huge resource, not just in, how do you photograph this? What settings do you use? But like, how do you price yourself? How do you get these like contacts, all of that? And I've heard really nasty stories of photographers in other area, especially old men photographers that don't like young people and especially don't like young women, or don't like women. And my experience here has been, not that, which I'm so thankful for. So there's pretty much any Bay Area photographer, whether they've been in the industry for, 30, 40 years or whether they're new, I think they've all been very, very welcoming to me and welcoming to each other. And I think we have a really good community out here, which is why we're all kind of missing sports, because we're missing our photographer buddies that we used to see all the time and, kind of shoot the breeze with them at a baseball game. So.
For sure. Yeah. Baseball. I'm missing it so much right now. I'm just ready for any sport. It doesn't matter what it is. We're watching golf tournaments on TV with Tom Brady. Like, what's going on?
Well, we're out on the water and I saw like the kiters and I was like, people in motion. It's so exciting. People are moving.
Yes, exactly. So from kind of your path, what led you to USA Today? So if you, I mean, I don't know exactly how the paths work and that kind of thing. I've worked for USA Today covering a few things, but I'm not like one of their primary photographers or anything like that. So if someone's looking to kind of decide, or I guess get into a wire service, how do they go about doing that, or what was your path? I guess it's not all. I mean, like now that I've talked to a few people, I'm always amazed. Like, wow, everybody has such a very different way that they got into this, and how they started and what their background looks like, and so
yeah, I think everyone's experience is super unique, and what worked for me long ago it won't be what works for someone today. I started with US Press Wire in 2011, and that was kind of I had been working for Cal, and then I needed to like branch out and become pro in a way and like really make a career of it, of like kind of establishing myself in a way. So I started working for a company called South Creek Global based on another photographer who worked for them. And he connected me and said, oh, you could work with her. And then from there, I worked with Icon Sports Media, which I'm not sure if you're familiar with. Yeah. And then that sort of like, it was almost kind of like putting it in the universe. People were like, oh, you're available to work for things outside of, what you've been doing thus far. And I'm like, yes, please hire me. I'm interested in any opportunity.
Yeah.
At the time, US Press Wire was just spec only. So you got paid only for photos that sold. You didn't get like any sort of guaranteed assignment fee. And basically a couple months of me working under that system, they got bought by Gannett, which owns USA Today. Then they became branded USA Today Sports. So then I got umbrellaed into USA Today in that way. I think for people who are trying to do that now, one of the biggest things that I think people don't think about is metadata and captioning and delivering super fast. So a beautiful image on Instagram will get a ton of likes, but that's not what like editors are looking for. They're looking for factual journalism with a caption, the peak moment of the game, why it mattered, and they want it on the wire for them to send to all of their clients as soon as possible.
I know. I see that all the time with some of the students that we work with here at UNC, if they're looking for advice and that kind of thing, they just, I'm like, caption, like, you have got to get this out as fast as possible, and it's got to be, I don't know.
Even just from when I started, like, to now have sending wirelessly in game, that's a whole new level. That was not a thing at all when I started. You used to say like, oh, I can have these images for you, like, by tomorrow, and people are like, wow, that's so fast. And now people are like, we want them now. So I think it's photo mechanic. If you don't know it and you want to shoot any sort of journalism stuff, you need to learn it. There's no way around it.
Best friend. All right, so let's pivot a little bit and kind of, I would love to get into kind of like just the women in sports photography stuff. And so I guess one of the biggest things I was like, this would be great to talk to her about is just how, and I am brand new at this. I think that your baby was born within a few weeks of my baby. So
I think so.
We're both pretty new at this.
Yeah.
But how has that balance been for you in the few months that you were back at shooting? I don't know how long of a maternity leave you took or whatever.
It's, as a freelancer and self-employed person, I don't get like an official maternity leave. So it's kind of up to me. My last assignment was the September 30th, I think. And it was the King's Media Day, which was really fun. My dad came and helped me out to be like my lackey, sort of.
Yeah.
And then my baby was born October 15th. I planned to not come back until like December, but then something came up on November 9th. Where a photographer canceled last minute for an hour-long thing that needed coverage that was up at Cal. And I thought, I could spend all afternoon panicking, trying to find someone to cover this, or I can just go up for an hour. And so I left my little baby. I left her before, so it wasn't like the worst. And it was great. And she was fine. I was fine. There's a ton of new logistical challenges, because after that I came back in and was doing the 49ers game. That was one of the hardest ones because covering NBA, you have like, you know, an hour, hour and a half, then you have halftime, and then you have another hour and a half. But football is like an all day thing where you're shooting pregame, and then halftime is like really panicked and short, and you're running back into the workroom.
Yeah. So
I'm not sponsored, but pumping with my LV pumps was like game changer because I actually would pump during a game. So there's just a lot of like new logistics to have to think about of like, when do I pump? When do I feed her? You know, I might stay after a game and edit way late previously. And now I would come home immediately so that I could nurse her and then finish, like do my second edit at home. But I think I had read when I was kind of coming up in sports of some really wonderful women who are photographers who kind of gave the impression that you couldn't have children and do this because of the travel, because of XYZ. And that was sort of disheartening in a way, because if you want family and you want career, you know, you have to make compromises, but I don't think you have to choose one or the other was the hope. And my husband's been really supportive for both of us to have this like hour right now to talk. The baby has to be with somebody else.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think
thank you for doing that, because I know what that's like too.
Yeah. So I think just having shared expectations with your partner, and you know, hopefully you can enjoy motherhood. There's a lot of mom guilt, but then you think, you know, if your child can see a parent doing something that they love, something that they're proud of, that's, you know, better than anything that you could give them otherwise. If you hate your work, even if you only work for an hour a day away from them, they'll see that like drain in your energy. Mm-hmm. So it would, and I had my parents helping out a lot, and they would watch her whenever my husband was working. Now that we're in the pandemic and they're over 65, we're not getting that same support, which is hard.
Yeah, it's so hard.
But I'm also not working, so it's every day is a new challenge. Every day your baby is growing and changing. She like plays by herself more right now, and so I can like sneak in some emails while she's, you know, learning, like bonking two toys together. So it's really rewarding. I'm glad to have this as the new chapter in my career and life. And everyone that I've been worked with is super supportive. Like when I decided to come back in December, Kyle Tirado with USA Today was like, "Are you sure? Like, make sure you tell everyone that I'm not telling you you have to come back, because to me that seems kind of early, and I don't want people to think that I forced you back too early." Yeah. And with my Olympus sponsorship, you know, there's expectations that I would travel and speak and do certain things with them. And when I told them that I was pregnant, they were like, "That is great news. You know, don't even worry about anything that you have to do for us. Like, your baby is number one. We're so happy for you. Let us know how we can support you." And so just having all of that support across the board was wonderful. The photographers that work with KLC Photos all kind of reached out and were like, "How can I help you?" And I'm so lucky to be working with so many great people, and to have a healthy, happy baby is, you know, such a blessing.
Yeah, no, that's been pretty much my experience as well. Everybody's been super supportive. It's interesting, and I think I kind of put this on myself a little bit, but some of those assignments, you know, because I wasn't there, they would have people fill in for me and that kind of thing, and then it just almost, when I returned, kind of felt like, wait, this still is my spot. I know that. You've told me that, but it still kind of feels like, I don't know, like almost like I was away for a little. I don't know how to describe it, but it was definitely some like, just on my end, some things that I had to work through that were like, no, you're still a sports photographer. Like, this is your, you know, this is still your thing. Just because you became a mom doesn't mean you can't do both. And and taking that time away and feeling like you deserve to take that time away, and that, like, being with your baby is important. It's for anyone that's, you know, very career oriented, having a kid can be kind of scary in that way of like, how will this affect my career in ways that I can anticipate and in ways I can't anticipate, and I'm going to have to adapt to. And, you know, if you work with great people, you're
you're really lucky. And, other people are fighting tooth and nail that have to like prove themselves all over again. And, it's having a baby is terrifying just across the board.
Definitely.
But it's wonderful.
I'm glad, to see. So, and maybe it was because, I've seen other people who are moms who are also sports photographers, but it's just been fun to watch your process because I'm like, it's almost like, my baby was born like a week and a half after yours.
Right.
So I've literally watched you go through kind of the same thing that I'm going through. And I keep, I'm like, oh, so she was doing this too. And like, she's at also a football game when it's really sunny outside and 8 months pregnant. And so.
Oh, that just to share a story. When I was like 8 months, I was 8 months pregnant. You're right. I was covering a football game and someone was like, you shouldn't be kneeling. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I can kneel. I still feel like strong and healthy. And he was like, I have 3 kids. You shouldn't be kneeling. And I was like, how many of those kids were you the one that was pregnant for? Yeah. But it's just like I think people were much more weird around me when I was pregnant than I am as a mother.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely. So I was going to ask you about that a little bit. So I don't cover as much baseball. I cover a little bit, but the college baseball, there's not a pro team here in North Carolina, but the college baseball season ends like, around the 1st of June. So pretty much that entire summer, I was shooting things here and there, but it was mostly like practices, recruiting, that kind of thing. So I didn't actually have to go to games that often. And so, what was that like to kind of be in like the thick of summer and be pregnant and
it was really fun because Susanna Mitchell, who's one of the team photographers for the Giants, she was also pregnant and like a month after me. And it was her second kid. So she is just like a champ and an inspiration. And we had like the greatest time of when we were both like 7 months pregnant in the photo well. Another photographer like commented like, how often are there 2 women like in a photo booth or in a photo well at an MLB game? How often are both of those women visibly pregnant? Like, I don't think that's ever happened before. And so we had like all these fun little photos with our bumps out. And it was nice to have like someone else who had already done it, making me feel like you can do it as well. So the hot summers were not so great, but thankfully we don't get like torturously hot here. So it was okay.
Not a lot of humidity.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why football nearly killed me. So what was the difference for you? And I mean, obviously as you progress through your pregnancy, like it, it just gets more complicated and, there's a lot of different things going on with your body, but what was the difference between shooting baseball and being able to be in a well versus like actually being out on the field for football?
Yeah, football, I was lucky to have a really healthy pregnancy. So I felt really good physically throughout and I could still kind of go up and down, which was nice. I think that the timing of my pregnancy and where sports were made it work really well. I think the harder part was kind of, my first pregnancy and miscarrying and navigating that was way, 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 way harder than being pregnant. Being early pregnant and like not wanting to tell anybody, covering March Madness. And I was going through security with my bananas so that I wasn't nauseous. And the person was like, you can't bring outside food. And I leaned over and I was like, I am pregnant. If I don't have these bananas, I will vomit everywhere. And then they're like, okay, you can bring in your bananas, crazy lady. And then vomiting in a trash can and someone being like, are you okay? And we'd be like, it's fun. Kyle Terada again, because we were carpooling together and we went to go get burritos and I puked in a trash can and he was like, I didn't know you were sick. And I was like, oh, I'm fine. Don't worry about it. And he was like, you're the strangest person ever. And I was like, well, I'm pregnant. So I think that all that early stuff and navigating, when you tell people, how do you tell people, how are people going to react when you tell them? Are they going to count you out? Are they going to think, all right, your career is over? That was way harder than once you got to be fully pregnant, showing that you're a champ out there, that's when you kind of felt like, yeah, look at me, you know. That was really fun for me, was being super pregnant and you know, kind of showing off my bump there.
Yeah. I remember seeing one of your Instagram posts. I wonder if I can find it. It was like something about like I still got the shot or something, and I was like, yes.
Yeah.
I need that. Like, I can totally do this too.
Yeah.
So I am super sorry about your miscarriages, because I also experienced those, and they're so hard.
I'm sorry for you.
Yeah,
it's tough.
When you have a baby, finally, like when it finally works out, like it feels better, but it still doesn't go away.
Right.
So
yeah. I have another friend who miscarried, and she was like, you know what? People who haven't miscarried, they'll never love their babies as much as we love ours. Like, because they don't understand what it's like.
Yeah. I mean, we've been lucky to have a pretty good sleeper. Like, she's great, but I just think all the time, like, I don't care if you wake me up 50 times a night, like, you're here, and I'm just happy to have you. So
yeah,
no, that's great. That's a great comment from your friend. So moving backwards, so early pregnancy, not really telling people about it. Same here. I'm in the same boat. Like, I kept telling people, oh, I have food poisoning from the food at the UCC tournament, like, in basketball. I'm like, maybe you shouldn't eat the food. Like,
oh my gosh, you really went all out.
They're just like, well, because I was so sick. I threw up pretty much daily for, like, the first 18 weeks. So,
oh my gosh. But after miscarriage, you're like, yes, this is good. This nausea means I'm still pregnant.
Exactly. But, so we've talked about baseball and football and those differences, but how did you feel, like, as a pregnant woman, especially with not a lot of people knowing, being kind of stuck on the line there? Like, you know, like, so if the action's coming towards you, you can't really move. There's nowhere to
Yeah, I think for most of our sports, we're pretty protected. And it was kind of, you know, I would be perhaps more strategic in where I sat. At Giants, I wouldn't sit in the outside well that didn't have the net. I almost always sat on the inside well because there was a net. So I think I hear your baby in the background.
Yeah.
Cutie. So it was in the back of my mind. There was a ton of fear of like getting hit by a ball or something, and like how I would, like, you know, at all costs defend your stomach, you know.
What about with basketball, where you're, you know, you can't really, you know what I mean? Like, there's an assignment. I'm assuming it works the same way for you guys out in California, like where you're assigned a spot and that's where you're at, or.
I think with basketball, I was still very early in my pregnancy, so I was still super mobile in terms of like scooting out of the way if I needed to, and I wasn't as worried in that sense, and nobody nobody knew.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody knew. So, you know, for better, for worse, that's how it worked out with the seasons and the sports that I was covering, that it wasn't a huge fear of mine, knock on wood, nothing happened. I don't want to jinx myself, but I'm like, I really need to wear a helmet at baseball games. You see so many, I keep hearing these horror stories, and I keep telling myself, I'm going to wear a helmet. And you know what? Probably whenever it does start again, I'm going to be a helmet. I'm going to be a mask. I'm going to be like everything. I'm already the one that's out. I'm already the one that's like, the sun's out. Let me put on like a giant hat and like my sun shirt so that I don't get sunburned. So fashion is just out the window when it comes to any of these games. And so I might as well add a helmet. Nothing's more important than your brain.
Yeah. No, the first pro baseball game I ever covered, I got hit by a ball. And
oh no!
I was like, okay, well, this is never happening again. Like, I have to make sure I'm guarded and in the right positions.
Yeah.
So I never covered any pro baseball while I was pregnant, so I can only imagine, like, the ball just it comes off so fast. There's just not really a way to account for that. Like, it's just so fast.
Yeah.
So,
you can't be like on your phone distracted at any time.
No, not at all. So pivoting from that and kind of talking about just in general, like being a woman in sports photography, what has that meant to you, and how have you navigated that, just being, probably like I am. Actually, well, I know there's quite a few. I think there's 2 women sports photographers on the, like, team sports photographers for the 49ers, right?
Yeah, there's
I think
Meg
Kim is
Williams
too,
and
right?
Kim. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they're both incredible. Like, Meg is so good in her eye, and she's another one of those women that supports women, which is so great. Mm-hmm. Kim, like, battled cancer and has children, like, and she's like this tall, and like, she hangs with the best of them across the board. Mm-hmm. The A's have Michelle Minahan, and she's a rock star that's crushing it. So we are very well represented in terms of women, and I'm thrilled to be a part of that group. I'm thrilled to see more women. You always say, if you're going to be the first, don't be the last. And how can we support each other? Which reminds me, I'm not sure when this will air, but there is the Shoot Like Shirley contest in honor of Shirley Peffley, who is a Bay Area sports photographer who sadly passed away. And her husband has generously funded $1,000 for the winner and $500 for the runner-up for women under 30 who are pursuing photography.
Let me see if I can add an extra banner here. Do you know what it is? Is it
shootlikeshirley.com?
Is it SHIRLEY?
Yeah.
Awesome. Let's see if I can show up.
Yes, perfect. And running that contest and seeing all of the great applicants that come through is so inspiring to me. And, one of the neat things about photography is that, your images can speak for themselves. Based on your image, so they don't know whether you're a man or a woman or anything about you. And so to see women are creating images that are oftentimes better than what men are creating, and we're not just like knocking on the door. We are slamming down the door and saying, we are here. We belong here. We are good at this. We offer things. We offer every person, whether it's gender or race or their financial background, whatever they came from, offers a unique perspective. And to have everyone's, perspective and eye contributing to images just makes the art of it that much more beautiful and compelling and diverse. And I want to see more diversity in sports photography across the board.
Yeah. If you were just starting out now and you were looking for advice from someone who was a woman in sports photography, what would you tell yourself?
What would I tell myself?
Tell any, I'm using that as kind of an example, but just in general, like someone just starting out. I think I just got a huge cloud overhead here, but that's okay.
Oh,
nice and dark now.
To try to know your value and increase your value and advocate for your value. I think that's one thing that I learned is I certainly wasn't charging enough. In many ways, I'm probably still not charging enough. And I think, they say women tend to feel this like imposter syndrome of you don't belong, where men are like, oh, I bought a camera yesterday. Obviously I would shoot an NFL game next week. And women are like, maybe someday someone will think I'm great. And it's, I experienced that myself. I'm not
Definitely.
sure if it's, specific to women, but as the stereotype goes. And so I think the more you can reach out and ask people to be transparent with you, that has been hugely helpful, whether it's other women being transparent or other men saying, hey, how much did you charge for this? And the ones that are willing to share that, then you can be like, okay, I was charging like $150 when I should have been charging $500 or something. Mm-hmm. And you just don't know. So you're not trying to undercut the industry. You're just trying to get your foot in the door. And it's really hard to navigate that without someone supporting you and helping you and giving you insight. So I would say find great mentors. And, just because you're a woman doesn't mean you need to have women as mentors. Yeah. Any mentor that wants to support you is a great, great resource. And I think also, no matter where you are in your career, you can be a mentor to somebody else. And that's kind of, I am not Peter Reed Miller by any means, but if I can help someone out that's starting out, then wonderful. And I hope that we can all want to help each other out. I learn something every day with being part of the Olympus brand. I'm learning from other Olympus photographers all the time. So like I'm, promoted as, one of their visionaries. I know the camera really well. I use it. It works for me, but I'm learning tips and tricks all the time from other photographers that say, oh, I tried this setting. Why don't you try it? And I say, I'm great tip. Thanks. Yeah. So I think we all have something to learn.
Oh, that's great advice. I guess I was going to ask you about that earlier. How did you kind of branch into the Olympus, or working with Olympus and that kind of thing?
That was, I bought an Olympus set as like my travel hobby camera, just because it was small and light. And I thought it was really, really fun. It was just fun to use. I had like the OMD EM5 Mark II, and it looked like the classic camera, and it was silver, and I brought it on vacation. I brought it to Hawaii. I brought it to Seattle when I just had a blast using it, but it wasn't ever going to replace my pro stuff. But then they came out with the 40 to 150, 2.8. They came out with the 300 f4. And when they came out with the 300, which is like long glass, it's the equivalent of a 600. Mm-hmm. I reached out to one of their tech reps and said, can I borrow this gear? Can I borrow the 300? Because I want to use it for football. And if I don't use it for football, I won't be able to trust it. And so I'll have to wait a whole nother season before I would actually buy into the system again.
Speaking of gear, if you've never checked out Lens Rentals, you really should. I've used their products and services multiple times over the years, and I can honestly say that I've never had a bad experience with them. This year, they're doing a Father's Day gift certificate sale, where if you purchase a gift card, you'll receive an additional gift card for yourself with 10% of the value of the card you're buying. So for instance, if you spend $100, you'll get a $10 card for yourself. If there's ever been any gear that you wanted to try out, now is the opportunity. Visit the link in this episode's description and head over to Lens Rentals now.
Yeah. So then I used it for football. I used it at a rainy game, and it's totally weather sealed. And I told him, like, don't worry, I'll put rain gear on it. And he was like, don't bother. And so I literally shot in a downpour, and I was like, this is amazing. Wow. This is the best to not need rain gear at all. The camera system was great. The people that worked there was great. I was basically a huge fangirl. And then I switched over full time. And they kind of saw what I was doing with it, and started building a relationship there to become one of their visionaries, which was a huge honor and great. Their other visionaries are super inspiring with incredible careers, and they all really want to help photographers and teach photography. That I'm really happy to be a part of that group. I'm happy to use Olympus. I fully believe in mirrorless cameras being the future. I believe in micro four thirds is going to be around. It's a great system. I love using it. It's super light. I can't say enough good things about it. And I was saying it before I was sponsored by them, and just.
That's awesome. I think you
get Olympus.
Yes. I think you might be the only person I know that shoots with Olympus. And I mean, obviously, I would never know the difference. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I just.
And I think.
Oh, go
ahead.
No,
go for it. You just shot.
I just shot or I just rented, I guess, a few weeks ago, a mirrorless Canon. That's the first time I've tried mirrorless, like, besides the like Fuji bodies, but I haven't shot any sports with it, and I'm so interested to see. Like, it's interesting because the body is so light, but I can't, like, it's still gonna be just as heavy with my 300 or 400 on it. So
because you're not micro four thirds, you got to get into the micro four thirds.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, that's so interesting. I'm gonna have to test. I just need to test one out just to test it.
Yeah, I think the cameras that they were making, 10 years ago, they were not capable for sports at all, and so the Olympus doesn't really have people that are photographing sports. And then now people are just starting to realize, like, oh, this system is super capable for sports and super convenient for sports because sports use such long glass, and now you can get away with a handheld 600, which is incredible. And they're coming out with new lenses all the time. They're improving their technology. It's happening. It's where it's at.
That's awesome. All right. One last question. I'll let you go. Sounds like I know you've photographed NBA finals and, all kinds of things, Super Bowls. What is your favorite event that you've ever covered?
I think all of those big championship games are the ones that I love to say I've covered in terms of the check mark and a resume. But they aren't necessarily the most fun in the sense of it's a huge scene. You're restricted to where you can photograph from. You don't have the same ability to really, create the image that you want to create. So a lot of times the most fun I have is, when I can really roam an entire field, when I can get in with the team. And that's why I love covering Cal, because, I can be a part of the huddle and they love it, and I can create really unique images. So I think a lot of the more access I have, the better image I can create, and therefore the more fun I'm having because I can really use my creativity. So I don't know if there's like one favorite thing, but I'm happy. I'm lucky to cover any game. And right now I would cover someone playing Tiddlywinks. I would do anything.
No, that's great. I feel that same way. And you hear people say a lot, oh, it's not about the event, but it really isn't about the event. I grew up in North Carolina. I've always been kind of a Carolina fan. And I got to cover them in the NCAA tournament, but I would gladly switch that out for, I get to cover UNC wrestling here. And I'm quote unquote the team photographer. So I have all access, and so it's it's just having that access, using that creativity it's a lot more, I don't want to say fun, but
Right. Yeah.
So
it's all fun. It's all fun.
It is all fun. Yeah. Oh, that's great. All right. They can find you on Instagram at Kelley L. Cox. Where else can they find you?
Twitter at Kelley L. Cox, Facebook Kelley L. Cox, KLC Photos, KelleyLCox.com. Anywhere.
Are you still doing the Kelley's feet?
I am. The feet are long live the feet. I did recently make it private because there are a lot of weird foot fetish people that started following me, and I don't want any part of that. That's not what I'm going for.
That's amazing. I'm sorry, that's terrible, but it's
someone sent me a message that said, I will buy pictures of feet. I was like, nope.
And private. I know. I felt that way more so now that I've had a kid. I've taken a step back from social media a little bit. I feel like sometimes we rely on that to kind of, I don't know, like it's gonna be the only way we're gonna get jobs or something. I don't know how to describe it, but
that's a fallacy. Such a fallacy. I mean, I know plenty of people with huge followings that aren't getting any actual work, and I know people who have 10 followers who do $10,000 a day. So it's not the signifier of good and bad, for sure.
Definitely. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me. Hopefully it was a good experience.
It was fun. It was fun to connect to another little mom and be a part of a podcast, and good on you. Like, new mom out here creating content and working hard. I'm super impressed.
Trying. I just am trying to find ways that I can, share to the sports photography community. So
that's great. Let me know how I can support and spread the word. And thanks for having me, and give your little baby a hug.
You too. That's so exciting. I love it. Yeah, I'm so excited to get out there and be with her. I don't know. It's an interesting, like, just how much you can love like something else. And I like any second I'm not with her, I'm like, oh, I wonder what she's doing. So,
right. Yeah. It made me realize how much my mom loves me, or my parents love me. I was like, I never understood it until I had a baby. It is like really intense.
Yeah, and it's just like immediate. So, Anyway, well, thank you so much. Have a good night. I guess
it's
3:30 there, not night yet. So
yeah, we still have another couple hours before bedtime.
Yeah. All right. Have a good one.
All right. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you so much for checking out the first episode of We Shoot Sports, a podcast all about sports photography. It was a pleasure to have Kelley on. Hope you guys got as much out of that episode as I did. If there are any other photographers that you guys would like to hear from, please reach out to me at We Shoot Sports on Instagram. I've worked really hard over the last few weeks to get a nice lineup of photographers for you guys, but I'm always looking for more. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and we will see you on the next one.